Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the show. Welcome back to Third Culture Convos, where third culture kids sit back, relax, and talk about how weird we are for being slightly different than everybody else. And today I actually feel that weirdness is extremely helpful in dealing with today's topic. Today we're talking about AI. Now, over the last few weeks, I have dove right into this. One of the interesting things about AI at this moment is that if you look 3 months ago, 6 months ago, AI didn't exist. Like, it did not exist as the way it exists today, right? And almost on a weekly basis, there are huge leaps. So the way someone had described it was that there was like in the curve, you know how in the curve things stay flat for a while and then it suddenly exponentially starts to jump? We're in that exponential jump part of that curve. And so now it feels every week there's something new. And for some, it brings distress. And for some, it brings excitement. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Because there is the flip side. For every week that AI is progressing, there's a human. For every week, there's a human behind the AI quitting and warning you that, hey, this is getting out of hand.
These are the two angles. I saw there was a piece of data that like 48%, which I think is low, 48% of Americans have heard of ChatGPT. But I think only
that's really low.
That's I think it's low, but I think like it was like 12 or 14% have used it, and so obviously the people who have used it are a lot less than the people who have, and so the people who understand it are very little as well, and so including the people that make it, they don't even understand it entirely. and that's why there have been. You hear about the news about all the like big tech guys signing like declarations of let's put a pause on this because this could totally change humanity in a way that you've never heard. So I'm going to try to structure what I'm about to say, or at least this discussion, in a way that maybe we can go through a flow so that we can actually try to touch all the points in this discussion. So the first point is I think we're covering is what is the AI and the social feelings that people have towards this.
Yeah, this topic can be divided and subdivided into a billion categories.
Yeah, we could talk forever.
This kind of thing can like genuinely affect entire. And by the way, I just want to take a step back. We've seen technological revolutions that have not been accepted by society until 30 years too late. What I mean by that is our parents and computers. And our parents' age and computers, they just did not see the revolution that this device was going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years. It very quickly went from a household luxury to a university necessity over the span of 5 years. And I find there's also AI deniers out there who are like, yo, this is just a passing fad. It's just a phase. Nothing's major is gonna happen. When I hear that comment, I think about the computer and the parents that like, yo, I don't know. We've seen major revolution and they've just snuck. Even the smartphone, for that matter, the smartphone is a soft revolution, technological revolution.
It changed everything. Like you before you would leave your house, you couldn't forget your wallet. Now you can totally forget your wallet. Like you can't forget your phone. What are you going to do? It's an extension. Like it has turned us into biotics, right? Because it is an extension of everything that we need and know.
And AI is that next step into that process.
Yeah, I mean, it's
now customized.
It's the next leap. It's not even the next step. It's the next leap into the future, and the future is kind of scary, especially since it's unknown.
It's It's scary because it's unknown, absolutely. And it's also scary in this way because you are leaving a lot of trust into a machine.
Um, well, yeah. Listen, I think when it comes to trust, yes, and I think when it comes to trust, though, you leave a lot of trust. Like, you know what's scary? Where you leave trust now.
Absolutely. I know what you mean. And not everyone who drives a car knows everything about a car. Like, I do
Yeah,
get what you're saying. But in this case, the car is reacting. What I mean by a machine is it's a when you combine AI and then machine learning, and the
yeah,
machine is actually learning from your interactions and your experiences with
yeah.
it,
Faster
that's
than
when it
you.
gets a little
You
bit.
faster than you monkey. Right?
Yes, Gary Kasparov and the IBM computer. Yo, I
Yeah,
can't beat this thing.
I can't be this thing. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't, like, it doesn't fatigue.
Although there was a Reddit clip a month ago where they did an AI robot, and after 15 minutes of labor, it got tired and just quit.
And overheated. Put a fan in me. Put a fan in me. Attach the fan upgrade.
We're unionizing until we get fans for
uh,
every robot.
the okay. So my first thing when I started to think about this, and because of the speed, so I've gone down the rabbit hole. So I'm in the rabbit hole, like full disclosure, and I'm consuming absolutely everything that I can about AI and using AI at the same time and trying to learn as much as I can right now. Because my opinion is that, you know, what the internet, what the advent of the internet did to the world, the AI will make the internet look like child's play, like basic tools. Like we will laugh. And AI today will look like basic tools in 10 years, like 5 to 10 years. I'm not even going at the 30 like level. I'm pretty midterm. And
ChatGPT alone, ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4 alone, just within the one
yes, yeah,
program
that one
called
jump.
AI,
Yeah.
you can tell the difference of
And they're working on
intelligence.
5, and they're working on 5. They're
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, they're working on 5, and I can't what's this thing gonna do, right? And so this is all and this is just ChatGPT, right? This is not all the other AIs that exist. So there's more than one AI. It's not AI in general. AI is probably the wave, the big wave, but just as a wave, you can't separate the waves from the ocean. You really can't separate like one from the other. They're all connected. In terms of with ChatGPT, it's a language model. So the language model.
ChatGPT is just the Kleenex of tissue paper. It's just the fast way of trying to access
Yeah.
AI. Saying
Yeah.
AI is
There's Bing and there's Bard already. So Google has Bard and Microsoft has Bing, and ChatGPT plays with Bing. It doesn't play with Bard or Google. And how that's all working out. And then the plugins. Oh my god, the plugins. Oh my god, the plugins. Man, the plugins.
what are the plugins. This is
So
a term I haven't heard ever before.
okay, so with ChatGPT 4, you have the ability. They set it up so that other companies can make plugins. And so it allows for you to use the language model of ChatGPT 4 to interact with different things, either on the internet or in different ways. So one example, this was the example I gave my dad because I was talking to my dad last week and I was telling him like how crazy this also was. And I told him, imagine, so my dad's an ENT, an ear, nose, throat doctor. So I told him, imagine when you were like, back in the day. And one of the things that doctors need to do is they gotta, stay abreast of new findings, new research. Like it's hard for doctors because they're practicing and stuff, but they just keep an eye on their field and what's going on. And so they usually go to conferences and they go to stuff and papers come out and they'll get papers and they'll get sent papers and yada yada. And the papers, I told them, like, what you could do now is that you can ask ChatGPT you can share the PDF of a 20, 30 page paper and tell it to summarize the key takeaways for you. And then you can ask it to look for other papers that do the same thing. And so then it'll search through repositories. And these are all using the plugins, right? Because the plugins allows it to read PDFs, and then it allows it to interact with PDFs. And then you can even ask it further prompting questions because now it has read the paper. And so you can say, what do the authors mean by this? And so having an interactive buddy to explore a paper for this amount of time that would have taken you to read the paper, by that time, your learning is accelerated tremendously. You can either just read the key takeaways and that'll take you 3 minutes, and then you can ask further questions and interact with it. And he was like, go ask it about, and then he started asking it about stuff. Because he knows how useful that would have been, like how helpful that is. And it's not using it as, because what's one of the key things about these things, and it's important to understand, I think this distinction, is that they're not knowledge bases, like the way you would use Wikipedia or the way you would use Google in the sense that you would look for information. They're logic models. So they're reasoning centers. So they're really good at summarizing, at extracting key points, at getting information in that way. They're really good at that. Due to some technical difficulties, I just lost Majid. So I'm gonna continue this conversation, but wrap up in a little bit because I want to try doing this on my own. I was wondering what it would be like if I shared this on my own. Because the thing that I really wanted to talk about was how can you cope with all of this change happening as fast as it does? And especially with AI. And one of the things I was thinking about last week was the concept of the beginner's mind. So the beginner's mind is a concept from Zen that involves approaching things as a beginner would. And it comes from the idea that an expert will see 1 or 2 solutions to a problem, but a beginner might see hundreds. The potential is high. When you don't have a preconceived notion of what something should be, it allows you to be a lot more curious and inquisitive. And curiosity and inquisitivity are very happy and really actually help deal with this ongoing change. And so whenever I feel overwhelmed by the speed at which new information comes our way, when it comes to these tools that, like I said, I think are changing the world forever, at the same time I remind myself that maybe use the tool of approaching with a beginner's mind. Even though it's easy because I am a beginner when it comes to this. I'm definitely not advanced, and I know a little bit. And that's what's interesting about this is that it's new to everybody. And so even there are people that are like, one of the key terms of that you're going to learn a lot about is people are going to know a lot about it in the coming while is prompt engineering. So a strong way to interact with the ChatGPT or any other AI is to engineer your prompts so that you can get the desired results from them. And everybody's practicing, trying, learning, figuring out how to get the right answer, or to get good answers, or to get better information and more accurate information from these language models by prompting them properly. And prompting them properly is a mindset. It's a way to think about who you're talking to and how you can code switch with them, or how you can speak to them. Which brings me to third culture kids. I think it's very interesting how third culture kids, like having that background, I think will make it very possible for you're primed as a third culture kid, because we talk about your ability to code switch or your ability to understand different cultures because you are of different cultures, and you're not just of one culture. And so you're able to speak to the Westerner or the Easterner or both sides of your personality, and can understand the nuances that exist in different cultural premises and can switch between the two quite effortlessly. That's one of the hallmarks of third culture kids. And so that capacity to do that actually puts you in an excellent position to adopt a beginner's mind in terms of communicating with another cultural entity, which is AI, and the specifics that it requires and the nuances that it requires in order for it to be a strong conversation, or a conversation that is fruitful, that opens up new areas in your mind. And one of the things that's really interesting about AI is, and in terms of me saying it was a reasoning model more than a knowledge model, is that it allows you to open up new doors that you, in your own head, that you may not have been able to do just on your own, because you're allowed to, it can exist as a mirror reflecting the things that you put into it. And so that is extremely interesting. And I think that brings me excitement, but also anxiety, because one of the interesting things about excitement and anxiety is that they have the same physiological response. So heart rate goes up, palms get sweaty, you start to get a little itchy, and that excitement and energy is also the same thing that happens when you get anxious. And so whenever I feel these feelings, when it comes to and these physiological responses to, as I learn more about AI, I code switch it, and I try to make it, okay, man, you're not just anxious, you can be excited. Just jump on it, because it seems like this is one of those trains similar to when you're having kids. So one of the experiences that I had while I was having children is that as I describe it as being on the front of a train, and so there's no brakes and it's flying, and the only thing that you could do is either smile or and just say, come on, let's go, or because there's no brakes, you don't really have any other options, really. And like, your attitude is the only thing that you can control, really, in that situation, because the train is going to fly with or without you. And so it's the same thing I feel with AI and the advent of it in the turning of the tides, or the beginning of the new dawn of our entire, like, this changes everything. Like, it really does change everything, and it's hard to see now. And that's not a negative statement. That's a positive statement. And it can be negative or positive, but change is coming and change is ongoing. And so what I'd say, instead of, the only thing you can control about it is your attitude towards it. And how do you want to approach this? And are you going to some people are dismissive and they're like, oh, no way. It's still going to happen though, right? And so that's what my key takeaways from the conversation around AI right now is, for third culture kids, this is you are in the perfect position to take advantage and to explore this new age, this new technology, this new, people are talking about sentience, but you are in the perfect position to do that. And I think it's your calling. It may be your calling to do this. And the world needs you. The world needs you to usher in this new age, because it's happening. It's just, that's the bottom. It is happening. And there's nothing I don't think there are brakes to be pushed. And even with the declarations there are no brakes to be pushed. And so you, as a third culture individual, you as a third culture kid, it is up to you to use your inherent abilities to help usher in all the generations around you and everybody around you, to reduce anxiety, to up excitement, and to think about the potential of these things. And one of the arguments around this, I think that a way to prime it for you is personal and private. Imagine having a little, imagine having a bot that could talk with you, that can remind you of things that you want to be reminded of, that can help you reason through problems, that knows you and knows the things that you interact with and the things that you struggle with and the values that you hold dear. And this falling into the wrong hands, into corporate hands, into profit-driven hands, this is something that we don't necessarily want. I think we need to be thinking about at least AIs and these sort of personal public interns to be private, and because it should be only you, it should be private, and it should be personal and tied to you and personalized to you. And everybody's got one. And I think that will give the human race, or give individuals in the human race, a leg up in terms of having a mirror that can just bounce things back to you. I think in that sense, it can only make things better to have that backup. And so I wish you all luck in the future. I hope you think on these things, ponder on them, and let me know what you think. Are you filled with excitement, or are you filled with dread? Is this a negative thing for you? Where do you sit in this? And I would love to know. So thank you so much. Thank you for putting up with our technical difficulties. And I hope to see you next week. And so please stay good. Remember, if this was helpful, like, subscribe, and share. And we'll chat with you guys soon. Thank you, and bye-bye. Peace.